What's up everyone, my name's Alpha and today we're back for another Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Radical Red 4.0 and today's challenge we're going to continue our mono-type challenge. So today our wheel is going to give us Fairy type. So honestly, not that bad of a typing. I was expecting worse. We started our week 1 with a bug type. So I'm glad we have an easier typing, but we'll have to see for ourselves if it's easier or not. So of course, we go through the first partial settings. You gotta set hardcore mode, you gotta add the rare candies, because if you guys don't know, in hardcore Radical Red, it doesn't matter if you have rare candies or not, because there is a level cap. It's gonna hard cap you anyway, so it's just easier to level up Pokemon to use, so you have a variety of Pokemon. So for the audience that don't know, Pokemon Radical Red hardcore mode, it's the hardest mode in any ROM hack, and it's possibly the most annoying as well, because it's very limiting and it's not a lot of fun. It's fun to watch, not fun to play. It took me about a couple hours to do this. And yeah, the premise of this, we have to beat a Pokemon Radical Red 4.0 hardcore mode with only fairy type Pokemon. So they have to have a fairy type or a subtype as a fairy type, and that's basically the rules for me. Those are the bad rules. The good rule for everyone involved is that each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments. So thanks so much for leaving a nickname in my previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after a future Pokemon, just drop in the comments and hopefully I'll pick yours. And while it's down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. So to begin off, we're gonna do our little I completely forgot that Primarina is a fairy Pokemon and I did not use it at all. We could have even got it as a starter Pokemon, but I just refused to use it. I just completely forgot about it. So we have to go through the game knowing that. We're gonna catch our first few Pokemon, which is gonna be a Morlul, you know, some basic Pokemon you guys know by now. We use a Snubbull, which isn't commonly used on my team. We got a Marill as well, which is going to have huge power, which I thought would be banned, but I guess you can't really ban it or that Pokemon's basically useless. But anyways, we're going to head into the forest. In each route, there's going to be boss trainers where they're kind of harder than regular trainers, and they're going to oppose a harder challenge. And our first boss trainer we beat, and we got infinite repels for, so that's pretty nice. We're going to move on and face off against this other boss trainer which has bug Pokemon, and we beat him without actually healing our Pokemon after the first boss fight. So we're able to clear through this route easily with our fairy Pokemon. I was like, this is gonna be easy actually. So we're gonna move on into Pewter City. Now we have an X merchant up there, but we don't really do too much with him. I don't think we got anything good. Actually, no, I take it back. We got this Impidimp. Gonna be very good. It's gonna stick on my team the entire playthrough. Unfortunately, when we face off against Faulkner, it's not that good, and we have to reset multiple times. Faulkner gave us a lot of issues for some reason, but eventually we're able to beat down Faulkner and move on and face off against Brock. Brock's gonna be the rock type gym leader in the game, and we're gonna start the battle off against him using my Impidimp, which can fake out and force him into his Cacnea, which I should have gone for a Thunder Wave, but I got greedy and went for damage against the Cacnea. And I'm gonna switch into my Galarian Ponytail, which is fire and fairy typing, if you guys didn't know. So I completely forgot about it. I can't wait to use this thing. I'm able to force him out into his elite, which I'm able to do a lot of damage to, and force him to recover a few times. Will-O-Wisp it, because I thought it was gonna actually switch out, but from there I'm just gonna chip it down. It's gonna knock me out, but that's fine as I chip it down. End up knocking him out with my Snubbull, and then he's gonna go out to his Lunatone, which I go out to my Marill. He forced into his room, and I do a lot of damage. Eventually knock him out, actually trade with him because I'm poisoned, and I knock out his room as he knocks out my Marill. He goes back out to his Lunatone, which I'm gonna chip down using my Flabébé, force him into his Arcan, and eventually knock out his Arcan, which is free. From there, he's gonna go out into his Lunatone, and I do a little more chip damage. I'm still running out of Pokemon, so I gotta be very careful as I go out to my Mallow. Mallow is able to knock out the Lunatone and do a lot of chip damage against the Cacnea. Do I knock him out? No, he knocks me out with a Pin Missile, so all it's on Snubbull's shoulder, as Snubbull's able to knock out the Cacnea, survive a Bullet Seed, and eventually knock out the Hippopotas, actually one-shot it with a crit Ice Fang, as we're able to beat down Brock, get our first gym badge in the game, and now we can move on. Since the level cap jumped up, a lot of our Pokemon are going to evolve. As you can see, we got a Zermo and also Granbull. We're also going to face off against this boss trainer, which is super easy, surprisingly. We're also face up against the scientist in Mount Moon, which isn't too difficult. And obviously we lose against Archer the first time. Just to get a free recover, we're going to come back and beat him on our second attempt, which is nice. And then head into Cerulean City, and this can be a box update, not too much different from before. We're going to really stick with our main Pokemon, and then we're going to move out and face off against the Mover Learner to unlock Mover Learning. We're gonna have to use his Rento Pokemon, which, you know, can't really change anything. We actually get a shiny Phanpy from his Rento Pokemon, which is kind of funny. I was like, oh, Wrong video, Fampy. We come back with a shiny video next time. But from there, we unlock mover learning, obviously. In this game, Bellossom's actually grass and fairy typing. So if you guys do see Bellossom on my team, that's because it's partly fairy in this ROM hack. But from there, we're going to face off against Misty, and she beats us. So we're going to have to come back. We're able to clear through the Nugget Bridge and then face off against this Team Rocket member. And then once we beat this Team Rocket member, we're able to have access into the route below, which has the Bodos team for us and also a bunch more fairy Pokemon that I don't think we use too often, but it's cool. It's cool to have. From there, we're going to face off against Misty next. Misty's going to be the water type gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Bellossom to actually stun spore the Politoed and then sleep powder down to Mantine, which is going to wake up on the second turn and then hurricane and knocks out my Bellossom, which is okay. I mean, okay is a really coping word. But I go out to my Azumarill next, which is able to catch the Clodsire with an Ice Punch and knock him out in 2 shots. From there, she can switch out into her Ludicolo, which I'm going to switch out into my Shiinotic, which doesn't do it too much, but for some reason, this interaction always forces her to switch out into her Toxicroak, because I guess I'm 4 times weak to it, so it forces out the Toxicroak. I'm able to sleep powder it, which is nice. And from there, I can switch out into my Granbull, and I'm gonna switch back out into my Shiinotic just to sack it, just so I can get another Intimidate. I know for some reason in this game they always wake up in the first turn, so you know what, that's just free switching into Intimidate. I'm able to Bodos down the Toxicroak and outspeed him. I don't outspeed him. Granbull is so slow, but we're able to survive a Poison Jab and knock out the Toxicroak. As the Starmie comes out next, I'm able to switch out into my Ribombee. Ribombee is able to one-shot with Bug Buzz. I'm not too sure if the crit matters, but I'm able to one-shot the Starmie and the Ludicolo. As her next Pokemon will be a Politoed, which I'm able to Mega Drain into, and she just kind of loses. I go out to my Azumarill, I'm able to knock out the Politoed, and her final Pokemon will be the Mantine. I'm able to knock him out with my Play Rough, and we're able to beat down Misty. Get her second gym badge in the game and move out into Vermilion City, where we actually took 25 minutes hatching eggs for some reason. We even have the fast egg hatching enabled, so that's kind of sad that we have to wait around. There's not a lot of fairy type Pokemon. Eventually we just settle on Cantoni and Feebas, which will evolve into a fairy and ground type Pokemon. From there we actually go back into the daycare center, and you could do this rental battle where you face off against this trainer with only Hisuian Pokemon, and once you beat him you get an Eevee, and we can evolve that Eevee into a Sylveon, which is pretty free. From there, we're going to face off against Lieutenant Surge next. Lieutenant Surge is a fairly easy fight. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Granbull to Brick Break into his Rotom. I take a Z move from him, which is super easy, and one-shot his Rotom Frost. From there, he's going to switch out to his Mega Ampharos, which gets hit with my Bodos, and from there, I can switch out to my Bellossom to Moonblast and knock him out. From there, he's going to switch out to his Raichu. I'm able to Moonblast twice into him, survive a Rising Voltage, which, I mean, joke's on him. So from there, I can switch out into my Sylveon to Quick Attack and knock out the Raichu, double out into my Azumarill to catch the Electro Exploding, survive it with my Azumarill, which is funny, and then from there, the Hitmonlee comes out. I'm able to Aqua Jet it and then knock him out using my Sylveon, and then I knock out his Polnaut using my Galarian Rapidash. Actually, I Will-O-Wisp it and then go out to my Gardevoir, which is, you know, safer play. Honestly, I probably could have killed it anyways, but safer play, safer wins. From there, we head into the rock tunnel, which isn't too difficult. We do the entire tunnel and face off against this boss trainer, which isn't too difficult. We're able to also clear through this very annoying double battle fight right before Celadon City. We're able to clear him through, and I just hate Serena. Serena is just so annoying because it just blocks priority moves. From there, we head into Celadon City and evolve all the Pokemon that need stones or link trading because it's pretty easy in here. I didn't know Clamperl actually evolves through a shiny stone, which is interesting. I believe it's a shiny stone. So Gorbis is going to be a water and fairy type Pokemon, which we don't use too often, so that's not even too much of a worry. From there, we're going to move on into the next gym in the game. We're going to face off against Erica. Erica is going to be the grass type gym leader, and we're going to start the battle off against her using my Togekiss. And if you guys do know what Togekiss has, it has Serene Grace and Air Slash. So we're going to Air Slash down to Cradily. You can't get away from it. I'm going to always use Serene Grace and just cheese them. From there, I actually been through this scenario multiple times, so I know she decides to just switch out randomly into her other Pokemon, so I switch out to my Granbull. It's like almost set like that. I switch out to my Granbull, she switched out to Toxicity. She actually both switched into her Slowbro, which I wasn't expecting because I'd never got this far, I'm gonna be honest. But I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna overdrive and knock out my Granbull. I'm like, oh, that's a waste. Go out into my Grimmsnarl, which is able to Sucker Punch, do a lot of damage to him, but I don't know why. But yeah, I don't have Prankster with my Grimmsnarl, which is kind of unfortunate. So I kind of just went down to the Kartana. But lucky enough, I can outspeed it using my Rapidash to knock out the Kartana. And then her Slowbro comes up. I'm going to try to put it to sleep. She's going to teleport out. into a Hawlucha, which I put to sleep, and then Fire Lash twice into him. And actually 3 times. It stays asleep 3 times, so it actually works out for me. As ready to knock out the Hawlucha, and then her Slowbro comes out. Maybe to Fire Lash it once again. Hypnosis as well, and then she's gonna teleport into her Sceptile, which I stayed in. I go for a Will-O-Wisp, and then it goes for a Swords Dance. I miss a Mega Horn, which is super annoying. So I'm like, oh my god, of course I choked there. And then I went out to my Togekiss. I'm surprised I'm able to survive a Draco Barrage, as I'm able to knock him out with an Air Slash. From there, she switched out to her Toxtree into her Cradily. I go out to my Ninetales, which is an Ice and Fairy type, able to knock out the Cradily and also just chip down the Slowbro. Also, actually knocks out her rest of her team. Knocks out the Toxtree and knocks out the Slowbro, as we're able to beat down Erica and get the 4th Gym Badge. We'll take that, easy. From there, we're going to face off against Giovanni. Super easy fight. We get the Self Scope and then move out into the Silph Co, where we're going to face off against a rival. Easy fight as well. Face off against Archer and Ariana, which isn't too difficult. We actually clear through one side and then face off against the other side. So it's basically a 2v1v1. So we're to clear through Archer and Ariana, and we spend a bit of time against Giovanni in this Silph Co fight, but eventually we get it through. It took a little bit. From there, we got to do some prepping as we face off against Chuck. Chuck is going to be just a random fight. A little mini boss trainer where you get the Focus Sash from. So we're going to do that, of course. Get ourselves the Focus Sash and then face off against Sabrina. Sabrina is going to be the 5th gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Azumarill and Hatterene. Now, Hatterene, they're just here for bait. I'm trying to bait in Tapu Fini to use Misty Explosion so we can knock out both her first Pokemon. And it works out pretty well. We're ready to Life Steal and then force them to Misty Explosion as we knock out her camera up. So everyone goes down. From there, I switch out into my Grimmsnarl and also my Milotic. Now, the reason why I do this play is because she always goes out to her Jellicent here. I go for a Psycho Punch against the Jellicent and then go for an Earth Power to knock out the Iron Hands. As we're able to knock out the Jellicent, Iron Hands goes down to low HP, and then from there, I'm going to switch out my Milotic for my Tinkaton. Doesn't work out too well. Grimmsnarl goes down, so I gotta switch out to my Galarian Rapidash. I go for a Fake Out against Iron Hands, and I'm able to Fire Lash into the Magearna. I do have the Focus Sash on my Rapidash. As I switch out into my Milotic, I'm able to survive a Plasma Fist from the Iron Hands on my Rapidash, and then my Milotic goes down against the Magearna, but I'm able to knock out the Magearna with a Fire Lash, go out to my Tinkaton to Fake Out and knock out the Iron Hands. And this Glacier always goes for a Swords Dance, so I'm able to chip him down using a Fire Lash to lower his defense. And from there, any move, he can't knock both of us out, so we're able to just knock him down. He knocks out my Tinkaton with Ice Hammer, as we're able to knock him out with a Fire Lash, as we're able to beat down Sabrina. Pretty easy fight against Sabrina. Not normal. Normally she actually cooks me up, but surprisingly we beat her down, and from there we can move on into Fuchsia City, which this time around Cycling Road isn't too difficult as we're able to get through it, and then head into the fight against Brendan at the Safari Zone, which we're able to clear through. We also unlocked the Egg Move Tutor, which isn't too great. I got Mirror Coat from the Egg Moves for my Milotic, which is really nice. From there, we have to rematch 4 gym leaders. We have to face off against Brock first. Brock surprisingly isn't too difficult. Now, who was actually difficult was Misty. Misty took a little bit of time, but eventually we got through and beat her. From there, we face off against Lieutenant Surge, which isn't too difficult. We got some nice special attackers on our team. And then from there, we face off against Erica. It's just Erica, you know, we beat Erica. So from there, we rematch 4 gym leaders and face off against Koga next. Koga is going to be the 6th gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Tinkaton against his Tapu Lele. I really forgot to nickname this Tinkaton, my bad. But I use this Tinkaton a lot apparently. I'm going to survive a hidden power and then Gigaton Hammer, knock out the Tapu Lele. From there, he's going to switch out into his Nidoking, which I'm like, oof. Gotta switch out to something good. I switch out to my Rapidash, which is gonna go down in one shot, and then I switch out into my Ninetales, and was really hoping I'd knock him out. Unfortunately, Ice Beam does not knock him out, but it does Frostbite him, so it will go down anyway. So I do lose 2 Pokemon for 1, which is kind of unfortunate, but I go out into my Azumarill to bait in the Toxicity, which will work perfectly. As I go out to my Milotic, which is a ground type, I'm going to Earth Power and knock out the Toxicity, as he's gonna go out to his Hooper next. Gonna have to sack my Milotic. Milotic's a really good Pokemon, but I gotta sack him. Because the plan is, I go out to my Tinkaton, survive a Focus Splash, knock him out with a Play Rough, and then he goes out to his Crocodile, which I gotta switch out to my Azumarill. I could take a close combat and take an Earthquake, but I can't take 2 Earthquakes, so it works out pretty well. I'm able to Aqua and knock out the Crocodile, and his final Pokemon will be a Shiyu, which I go out to my Sylveon. I Light Screen first, which is kind of weird. Could have gone for Moonblast, but I Light Screen first and then Moonblast to knock him out. Eventually, I'm looking for a special attack drop, does not get it, but eventually I'm still able to knock him out, so maybe Light Screen was the play. as we're able to beat down Koga and get our 6th gym badge. Now moving on, we have the ability to serve, and we're able to face off against Price at Seafoam Island. We're able to beat him down pretty easily and get ourselves the Choice Scarf, which is always going to be on my Togekiss. So you know what? You haven't seen Togekiss for a little bit. I got to put Togekiss back on my team because I got the Choice Scarf now. He's a little update on my box. Not sure why I'm picking up Granbull. I'm not sure where this is. From there, we're going to face off against Jasmine, which we beat him down, and of course, we don't use the Choice Band. I'm not too sure why I do this fight. I ask that every single week. But anyways, from there, we're going to face off against the trainer at the bottom of the Pokemon Mansion in Cinnabar Island. We're to clear him through. And then from there, we face off against the trainers in Blaine's gym. This trainer normally is a little difficult. We got him down a little bit better now, so we're ready to beat him down. From there, we're going to face off against Blaine himself. Blaine is a little annoying. He has 7 Pokemon, which is, you know, illegal, but he has 7 Pokemon. We're going to start the battle off against Blaine using my Milotic against Sandy Shock. We're going to go for an Earth Power against him as he goes for an Earth Power against us, and you know what, it works out. We're able to knock out his Sandy Shock. His next Pokemon will be a Venusaur with Chlorophyll, and he knocks me out. I go out to my Mega Gardevoir, and this is the only thing it does. It goes for Psychic and then dies. That's the only thing it does. I just have a Mega Gardevoir for no reason. Go out to my Grimmsnarl to Sucker Punch and knock out the Venusaur. From there, he's going to switch out to his 2-in-1, his Ho-Oh, paralyze the Ho-Oh, and then he's gonna get paralyzed, which is nice. I go out into my Rapidash, trying to weaken them and see if I could just survive a Sacred Fire, and it does survive the Sacred Fire, but it's gonna knock me out with a Z move, so I guess it works out. I go out to my Zermo to knock out the Ho-Oh, hoping it just gets paralyzed sometimes, but unfortunately it can go for Brave Bird and knock me out, but it's gonna knock itself out, which is nice, but then it revives himself, so I'm like, oh, what's the point in that? I go out into my Togekiss because I kind of just admit defeat. I just go for a bunch of Air Slash and hope it flinches, and it did. So I knock out the Ho with 2 flinches. He sends out his Great Tusk next, and I flinch it and 2-shot him. I'm like, uh-oh. I think this might be the end for Blaine. I made to flinch the Charizard twice and knock him out as well, and I'm like, uh-oh. His last Pokemon will be a Walking Wake, and I'm like, this is the end. I'm able to just chip him down, 2 more flinches, and knocks out the Walking Wake. As we're ready to beat down Blaine, I'm like, ooh, my audience is not gonna like that one. They're not gonna like me just cheesing that fight. I didn't know. I thought I lost. I thought I was just gonna restart, you know, but I just kept playing through. I was like, hope, I don't know, Togekiss could do something, but I got very lucky with that. Anyways, we're gonna head into Cerulean Cave, and we're gonna face up against the Team Rocket members in here. We're gonna beat down Archer, which is surprising. We beat Archer without losing a single Pokemon, I think. And then against Ariana, we lose a few Pokemon, but you know what? You know, 4 is a few. You know, we're still able to beat Ariana. And then we can move on and face off against Giovanni. And surprisingly, we beat Giovanni. We didn't beat Giovanni on the first attempt. Don't get me twisted. But I think it's the 2nd or 3rd attempt I beat Giovanni. I can't tell, but very early on, we beat Giovanni, as we just need a Dark-type Pokemon to beat his Mewtwo. Because he has to choose between the Dialga or me, and he chose Dialga. And we're able to beat down Mewtwo. We're able to beat down Giovanni pretty easily. Now moving on, this kind of gets a little annoying because Claire is being a little brat. She doesn't want to face off against us because we have fairy Pokemon, but like, it's kind of a whole challenge, Claire. You're not getting the memos. So I caught myself a Guzzlord, and then I'm gonna go into Celadon's department store or Celadon's game corner and get a bunch of Pokemon for free, and then face off against Claire. I mean, this fight was really easy. I mean, even if I'm a real team or not, we're able to beat her. She's not really hard at all. She's kind of just, she tries to overpower you. It doesn't really work most of the time. So we're to beat Claire, and then I guess we just gotta move on. We face off against a rival with our fairy team now. We're able to clear through Blue and also Brendan pretty easily. Now we're gonna head into Victory Road, and Victory Road isn't too complicated. We're gonna clear through Victory Road pretty easily. We actually want to go back into the power plant, and there is another fairy Pokemon we wanted to use, which is going to be an Iron Valiant. Is this our first Paradox Pokemon we ever use? Which is interesting, right? We're gonna obviously catch the Iron Valiant, which we're gonna add to our team. The name is so long it doesn't even fit on the name bar, so we're gonna have to change up his name, obviously. And then from there, we're gonna have to grind up Genesect, because Genesect has that 1% chance of getting a bunch of Choice Scarves, and it's actually easier now since we have a Pokemon like Rapidash that just cooks up Genesect for us. So every fight's super easy, and we can just reset it if we don't have a Choice Scarf. Eventually, we actually end up with 3 extra Choice Scarves, so 4 Choice Scarves in total. Might be a bit of overkill, but you know what? It's fine. We're gonna make our last adjustments to our team. As you can see, our team is gonna be interesting. Azumarill, Grimmsnarl, Togekiss, obviously Milotic, Rapidash, and also Iron Valiant. So it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be very cool. We're gonna start off our Elite Four challenge against Lorelei. She has her water team this time, so we're gonna start the battle off against her using my Iron Valiant and Grimmsnarl. We're gonna trade fake outs against the Iron Bundle, and she's gonna fake out my Iron Valiant, so nothing happens the first turn. On the following turn, our Iron Bundle always goes for a protect, so we're gonna focus down the Ludicolo and knock him out pretty easily. as you can see, and we're able to knock out the Ludicolo. And then from there, she can switch out to her Genesect. We can go for a Leaf Blade against the Iron Bundle and Thunder Wave it. It gets paralyzed, and Genesect tries to knock out my Grimmsnarl. It doesn't work out, as we're able to survive with barely any HP. From there, I'm able to go for a Leaf Blade against the Iron Bundle once again, and then we're able to paralyze the Genesect. It does knock out my Grimmsnarl, but Grimmsnarl put in a lot of work. From there, we can switch out to my Milotic, and then I'm going to switch out my Iron Bundle into my Togekiss, which Milotic's able to go for a Moonblast against the Dragonite. Doesn't do a lot of damage, surprisingly. So from there, I go out to my Iron Baleen once again. I go for Air Slash against the Genesect and then Spirit Break to knock out the Dragonite. Air Slash, of course, flinches down the Genesect and we knock out the Dragonite. From there, she can switch out to her Palkia, which I'm like, okay, works out pretty well. I'm just going to double attack into the Palkia. Works out pretty well as we're going to knock out the Palkia. The Genesect gets paralyzed, which I'm like, oh my god, this is the way. From there, I'm going to switch out my Iron Valiant because I do have a Leaf Blade on it. So her Mega Swampert comes out. It's going to knock out both my Rapidash and Togekiss as I switch out to my Iron Valiant and my Azumarill in the end. And we're to Leaf Blade outspeed the Swampert since we have a Choice Scarf on. And also my Azumarill is able to Aqua Tail and one-shot the Genesect in the rain. So we're able to beat down Lorelei pretty comfortably. And from there, we're going to move out and face off against Bruno. Bruno's going to be the fighting type Elite Four member in the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Azumarill. Azumarill is able to Aqua Tail and Aqua Jet to knock out the Infernape. From there, he's going to switch out to Zacian, which I'm able to Aqua Tail into, survive a Wild Charge. I'm like, what? This thing's powerful. How does Azumarill even survive that? I'm able to Aqua Jet and knock him down to low HP. From there, I'm going to switch out into my Rapidash to knock out the Zacian. He's going to switch out to his Necrozma, which I'm able to get 2 Fire Lashes against, which is like pretty free. Go out to my Grimmsnarl to Sucker Punch and knock him out. From there, he's going to switch out to his Lucario. He's going to knock me out, but I do have an Iron Valiant with close combat to knock him out. And from there, I can switch out into my Togekiss against the Iron Valiant. It doesn't do a lot of damage. He's going to knock me out. Actually, does a lot of damage, but he's going to knock me out. Go out into my Milotic to knock out the Iron Valiant, which is fine. From there, he's going to switch out to Zeraora, which doesn't do a lot of damage against me. I'm able to Earth Power him twice to knock him out, and yeah, we're able to beat down Bruno pretty easily. And from there, we're going to move out and face off against Agatha. Agatha is going to be the 3rd Elite Four member in the game, and kind of cheeser. We go out to my Togekiss. We're going to restart until we actually Air Slash flinch down this Crocodile, which, you know what? It's part of the game. We just need 2 flinches to knock out the Crocodile. From there, she switch out to her Calyrex, which I'm like, I'm not messing with this. I go out to my Rapidash, which is going to lower his defense, and then sack my Rapidash as I go out to my Iron Valiant, knock off to knock out the Calyrex, and then from there, she can switch out to her Yveltal. I go out into my Milotic, because Milotic is probably the biggest tank on my team. Milotic is able to just handle Yveltal and eventually knock him down to low HP. It's not going to let me kill him, and it's probably going to go for Sucker Punch since it's not affected by the Psychic Terrain. So I'm going to switch out anyways. So I switched out into my Azumarill and obviously caught the Victini. I've been through this a few times now. So I'm able to catch the Victini, Aqua Tail it. I do have the Focus Dash on, so I'm able to survive the Victini regardless. I'm able to knock out the Victini with Aqua Tail, and then from there she's going to switch out to her Mewtwo X, which I'm like, oof. This thing's gonna hurt. So my Azumarill goes down, which is fine. I go out into my Togekiss, which is gonna Air Slash into the Mewtwo. And then I'm gonna switch out. Yeah, I'm not gonna stay and sack my Togekiss. I switch out into my Iron Valiant to Spirit Break since it has Choice Scarf on. It's gonna knock out the Mewtwo, which is nice. I go out into my Togekiss after that and go for a Yawn against the Fluttermane because this thing's super powerful. It's actually killed me so many times. So lucky enough, I put it to sleep. I go out to my Grimmsnarl, which is able to catch the Yveltal with a Play Rough, knock out a Yveltal, and then from there, I 2-shot the Fluttermane as it stays asleep for 2 turns. I'm able to knock out the Fluttermane, and we're able to clear through Agatha. Now, next up, we're going to face off against Lance next. Lance isn't too hard of a fight. We're going to start the battle off against Lance using my Iron Valiant to Hypnosis into him, and then Psychic into him, and then from there, he never lets me knock him out. So I have to switch out immediately. He always switches out when I get a Psychic off against him. So I'm going to switch out to my Rapidash. I catch the Arceus Fairy, which is nice, as I'm able to Fire Lash twice into him and lower his defense twice, and he decides not to attack me as I'm able to get another Fire Lash off and knock him out. So yeah, we're able to beat down the Arceus. From there, he switches out to his Dragonite, which I'm able to counter with my own Togekiss. I was like, ooh, I'm chipping him down. I don't think he's going to let me knock him out. So I'm going to switch out into my Rapidash again. And I catch him on his Melmetal, which is really nice. I Will-O-Wisp into him. And then for some reason, I switch out into my Iron Valiant. I overcooked. I was like, you can even see it in the footage. I'm like, what do I do here? I don't think I'm supposed to do that. So I go for close combat. It does a lot of damage at least, but it doesn't even kill him. And I just sacrifice my Iron Valiant, which you don't want to do in this type of ROM hack. But go out to my Milotic to knock out the Melmetal, and if it forces him into his Dialga, which I'm like, okay, I'll just Mirror Coat it. I always do this. Mirror Coat to knock out the Dialga, and then from there, he switched out to his Mega Ray, which is gonna knock me out, which is fine because I do have a lot of other Pokemon on my team. I could play rough into him. I have a Focus Sash as I'm able to knock out the Ray with my play rough Azumarill. From there, he switched out to his Dragonite to knock me out, but I do have my Grimmsnarl to Sucker Punch into the Dragonite and also knock out the Glimmora, which we're able to beat down pretty easily. So we're able to beat down Lance, and now we can move on into the champion room. We're gonna face off against Blue next. Blue is kind of annoying. We restarted a few times, but this time around, we got the tech. We start the battle off against him using my fire type Rapidash. We're able to Hypnosis into the Kyogre, and then from there I'm gonna double into my Milotic because I know it's gonna go out to his Eternatus. I'm able to Miracle into his Draco Barrage and knock him out. And with this enough HP, I'm able to go for a Moonblast against the Xerneas since it always goes for Geomancy. If I get the attack drop, I could survive a Moonblast from it. So I can Miracle, reflect the Moonblast if I drop its special attack, which is pretty likely since I have Serene Grace. So from there, I'm able to Miracle, knock out the Xerneas. From there, you can switch it to the Swampert. I'm like, okay, I don't need my Milotic anymore. I sack my Milotic, go out to my Iron Valiant, which has Leaf Blade, and it's gonna knock out the Swampert and outspeed him, just like the Lorelei fight. From there, he's gonna switch out to his Walking Wake, which isn't a good Pokemon. So I go out into my Rapidash to lower his attacks that with Play Rough, which is really nice. Go out into my Togekiss to Air Slash, knock out the Walking Wake. From there, he switched out to his Arceus, so I'm like, ooh, this thing could get scary. It does Swords Dance up a few times, but I'm able to Thunder Wave into him and then switch out to my Azumarill. I'm able to get an Aqua Tail off against him. He gets paralyzed, and then another Aqua Tail to knock him out with an Aqua Jet. And his final Pokemon will be a Kyogre, which for some reason, my Azumarill was actually just goated. Crazy enough, my Azumarill is goated enough to knock out the Kyogre on its own, as we're ready to beat down Blue and become the champion of Pokemon Radical Red using only Fairy-type Pokemon. So our team is pretty cracked. We didn't use a lot of Pokemon, we just used the best Pokemon available to us because we already knew the best Pokemon. So I'm actually very surprised. This is my first time using Iron Valiant, and for sure when the fighting type monotype comes up again, I might have to use it again. This thing is really strong, and my team is pretty solid. It's actually up there in one of the easier categories. I think I did this under 5 hours or 6 hours or so. So it's actually one of the easier times I've done that. So yeah, pretty fun and pretty easy. So anyways, that will be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name has been Alpha, and I hope you all have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.